So, but getting back to what you were saying is to be more mindful about how we feel. I just also wanted to point out one more thing is more and more and more people don't trust their gut instinct. They don't trust how they feel. They somehow tend to always depend more on what the labs tell them, what reports tell them. There have been times when we have worked with people and they're like, oh, but my lab says this, but the way you feel is not that way, right?
Exactly.
So listen to yourself.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Infinite Ability Podcast. I am your host, Nick Yerhart, and we are here to encourage each other to find our own unique abilities. Let's go. All right, everyone. I'm excited for this podcast because I have two guests on this one. I have Juhi and Arjun, and this is going to be fantastic, and I'm excited to get going. So, you guys, can you tell me a little bit about yourselves?
Yeah.
So basically, prior to the pandemic, we weren't really wellness professionals. We had a brand which was for natural diet clothing, and but we always had an interest in wellness because I lost my mom to breast cancer back in 2012.
Sorry.
Yeah, and that's actually what got us onto, trying to find the answer of why she had cancer, what we could have done, and why is there no answer for it? As we know that cancer is only looked at something that is actually feared, and there is no clear, let's say, solution. When someone has cancer, they're just lost and in fear. And so we started searching for answers since then. Like, I met her, and actually she was the one who put me on track, and she was the one who came across Ty and Charlene Bollinger and Chris Beats Cancer. He's the very popular book. And since then we started attending webinars, reading books, blogs, videos, whatnot. And we actually shifted to Spain because we wanted to grow our brand. And the reason also why we started our brand was because toxins, which is the environmental toxins, they are carcinogens, and that's also what adds on to the bucket of why people get cancer. And so we always had this feeling in our heart that we should really devote ourselves to this cause and try and do something about it. And when the pandemic struck, it seemed like a perfect time. We couldn't really go ahead with our brand. And so it kind of felt perfect to just get on to wellness. And she was already studying herbs.
Yeah. And the way, of course, herbs came into my life was again with natural dyeing. Because we went through that process, and we went and attended the workshops at our dyer's place. And he also told us that you can also eat these herbs in the powdered form or whatsoever, and they are medicinal. And something struck a chord in me, and it made me so curious that, I want to know more about it. And that's when I think my journey started with herbs and herbal medicine, the whole botanical world. So it's never stopped since then.
That's awesome. Well, I love what you guys are doing because, about a year ago, I started my holistic health journey. I have a holistic health coach, so like everything you guys are talking about, and I know all about. And yeah, there's so many bad things in a lot of the foods and drinks that we eat. So it's like,
So true.
Yeah, you really gotta stay away from most of the food in the stores.
Yeah.
But there's organic that's good, and other things like that.
Yeah, of course. I mean, the middle aisles of the supermarket you need to avoid, and just focus on the outside ones because it's all vegetables and organic and good vital fruits, because then again they have their energetics. They have their biophotons.
Yeah, biophoton emissions. Actually, speaking of foods, I think we as all of us, as a society, as humanity, we need to come back to the basics because, in today's time, people are really confused about what nutrition is. And trust me, with our studies, we are coming like a full circle round, going through all the diets, navigating to starting all these things and experiencing all these things personally. We are now finally coming back full circle to what our grandparents used to say about food. At the end of the day, it's not what's found in the supermarkets, anything that's processed. It's actually at the end of the day what's really compatible to our bodies is what we get from Gaia,
Okay.
Mother Earth, and which is the highest quality possible. And increasingly, what I have been discovering, which I will be discussing more on our podcast about. I'm growing more and more skeptical about supplementations, especially when they become they start replacing foods in whole food
Yeah.
people's lives. People are just not trusting the food they eat; they're actually trusting a supplement. But of course, like for example, a stalk of broccoli has like more than 500 components, and a bottle of supplement might have 20. So there is no competition between these two things, and we have to understand that we need to eat whole, organic, pesticide-free, clean food from Mother Earth. It's like farm to the table.
Yeah, and I look at it as if it doesn't grow on its own, I shouldn't eat it. If you can't grow it, don't eat it. Like, yeah,
True.
and yeah, like like organic fruits and vegetables. That's ideal,
Exactly.
and it's unfortunate because a lot of places, in the U.S., it's hard to find that stuff. Like for me, I gotta drive 45 minutes to get a lot of that. There's a few things here in town, but yeah, like it's kind of difficult, and I hope to see that that problem get taken care of very soon, and I think it will because I see more and more people going organic. So
Yeah, it's a very nice
think
trend, but it shouldn't be a trend because it's a necessity, I feel, at the end of the
Yeah,
day.
it's a
exactly.
necessity.
Yeah.
It really is, and I know for me when I started eating organic and healthier, like you feel so much better. You get sick way less, and like since I have cerebral palsy, I deal with a lot of pain every day, and my pain has reduced a lot, and that's because I'm not putting toxins into my body constantly.
Yeah.
And I will say I'm not perfect. I still gotta work on the food I eat, but I'm a lot better than I was. So, but yeah, just that switch just to eating more healthy, most of the time, it really helps.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine what it would be if I ate, completely healthy constantly. So I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
Yeah, the most important thing is that you've made the change.
Yeah.
And the whole thing is at least 80% of the time we should be eating which is like from the ground. And if 20%, 15, 20% is up and down, that's still okay. But I think because a lot of people, they feel that it has to be 100%. And if it's not, they feel demotivated and they're like, I'll start tomorrow. But it's fine. I mean, at least you're making the effort, you're doing it, you're getting there, and that's what's important.
Yeah, because I think with food, many people just get on the extreme side of the spectrum.
That's right.
People get very obsessive about healthy food. I mean, keep a balance, like everything, have a balance, because if you're outside and your conditions do not allow you to have that kind of like a very healthy food, it's okay. You can still make smart choices. And that's what you just need to be a bit more aware and conscious of what food you're putting into your mouth. And then again, coming back to food, it's also the food hygiene.
Yeah.
Because we have to chew our food 32 times because we have 32 teeth. So it has to go, it has to become from solid to liquid in our mouth, and then we need to swallow that.
The very basic, unsexy things, as Juhi mentioned about eating hygiene, is like eating food is one thing, but eating food in a manner where we are not distracted, where we are enjoying the
Yeah.
food, where we are grateful, like, perhaps even saying a small prayer before having food, being thankful,
Yeah.
being grateful for the steaming food that we have on our table. And also,
Yeah.
like, not having too much of liquids along with the food, because then that interferes with the digestion, because of it dilutes the HCl, and so
Yeah.
things, very basic, unsexy things like these really matter in the
Yeah,
long term.
and also being very slow,
Yeah.
because then again, the hormones that get signaled, it takes around 15-20 minutes for our satiety hormone to kick in. So we need to be really slow and mindful about it.
Yeah.
So eating food, it's a kind of a sacrifice that you're doing for yourself, because you have to just be in isolation, or even if you're sitting with your family members, you all need to concentrate on food and talk something which is very light, not about like what
Stressful stuff.
happened during the day and things of that sort. You should be talking about food. You should be talking about good events, right? Because that's how we want
Yeah.
to also metabolize our thoughts at the same time.
Yeah. And one thing that you guys I mentioned was, drinking liquids while you eat. And that's something that my health coach taught me. He's like, when you eat, don't drink anything for a half hour afterwards.
Absolutely.
And I was like, what? Because we all grew up where you have your food, you have something to drink, and you drink it as you eat. I wash it down, as my grandfather would say. So that for me has been like a big struggle to change. It's like, as soon as I get done, I want to take a drink. It's like, no, don't do that. Gotta wait.
Then again, you're diluting your stomach acid. So it's a digestive juice that gets secreted when you're having food. And if you have water along with it, that means you're diluting it. You're alkalizing your stomach. And your stomach needs to be acidic, so that all the proteins and the carbohydrates that's getting inside it needs to be denatured. It's specifically proteins. So if you don't do that, and if you're constantly drinking water, so basically you are filling up your stomach with water, and you're eating less of the food, and even that food is not getting broken down perfectly as it needs to be.
So at least on the physical level, in the long term, that can, always, in a way, contribute to dysbiosis, where the bacterial imbalances in the gut. And for example, there are, the stomach acid not just plays a role of denaturing our food, but also of killing a lot of pathogens and unwanted bacteria and whatnot from the outside environment. Because the gut, which is actually, it starts from the mouth and goes all the way to the anus, it's actually an opening. So actually, if you go to see, we are like walking donuts because we have a hole right in the middle, right? And this is from our biology. And this needs, and this is what actually is, we really need to take care of. Because what happens is, because of small practices, maybe small things that we don't pay attention to, and in the long run, it can create, for example, there are barriers, right? It can create these barriers because they are porous. They have small, tiny, like holes, you can say, in very simple language. And over the time, if you don't care about our digestive health, they start opening up, and stuff that we don't want starts leaching into our biochemistry, causing issues, at least on the physical level. That's what we see.
Yep, exactly. And I know, like, your gut health is like one of the most important things.
Absolutely.
Like it is, because it affects everything in your body. So everything you put in, it's affecting you in one way or another. So we really gotta pay attention.
Exactly. I mean, if you go to see many people, even myself included, whenever I have milk, like a lot of milk in a day, it causes congestion. And that too in my sinuses. Now, how is that happening? Right? Because it's going into my digestive system, but then it's also reflecting in my sinuses. Then again, we have to understand the lung and the gut axis. We keep just talking about the gut and the brain axis, but we cannot also ignore the other body parts that are getting influenced. So the
Yep.
whole respiratory system can also get affected because of that. So because
Exactly.
we share the same mucous membrane, just the lungs, they also protect us from the inside, like from the outside to the inside world of us, right? So
Yep.
that's how the relationship is. Like with gut, we have our brain connection, we have a lung connection, and that we need to really take care of, and even heart.
Yep.
And on
Yep.
that note, we should know that, generally people have this idea, oh, if I have a thyroid issue or if I have a heart issue,
Yeah.
then that's what it is. And the rest of the body, oh, I'm fine. My digestion is fine. My this is fine. My that is fine. But we've got to understand, it's like everything is so interrelated, correlated. It's like a symphony. It's like, how they have these orchestras and everyone's just playing along. And if like any one of them just is not synchronized, it causes like, oh, what the hell is happening?
Yeah.
So the same way, I mean, our
exactly.
body is so well orchestrated and it works in symphony together. And it's like, even if it's like, even if it's a problem in the brain, it is very much connected to your other places in your body or other organ systems, and this is and it not just spans to the physical. This thing also spans beyond the physical. Like in our approach and what we are learning more about at this point of time is the 5 bodies, and this comes from Ayurveda, which is called the 5 koshas. So it's one is the physical body. Then we move on to the bioelectromagnetic body or the energy body. And then we have the mind. And then we have the intuitive body or the wisdom body. And finally, we have consciousness or spirit or however one would like to describe it as. So it's not just the physical that works in symphony, but it's also the physical that works in symphony with all the other levels. In fact, generally when we think about problems, for example, even gut issues, sure, there are things like we can do with our eating hygiene, our food, that definitely is a causative factor. But then there are other factors like our thoughts, what we think. So anything on the higher bodies, it always tends to trickle down on our physical level. So most of the time, what's on the physical level is actually a manifestation of what's going on the higher level.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, like even with emotions, if you see, if a person is having constipation issues, for example, emotionally, I think the person is not letting go of a certain thing, even if it's as minuscule as just clearing up their house or clearing up their cabinet, but they're not doing that out of no inertia. So just being sluggish about it. So even that little thing can cause constipation, because then again, at the back of your mind, oh, you have to clear it out and you're not doing it. So that's actually gunking up in your own body. Right.
And there's like a legit explanation for this.
Yeah.
Because like first of all, how can we connect, let's say for example, the mind with our physical body? It so happens that our nervous system is one of the things that very much connects, evidently, our higher bodies to our physical body. For example, what we think affects our nervous system, the autonomic nervous system, and whether we are in the parasympathetic or the sympathetic mode, it kind of shifts our biochemistry that way. And that in itself is a major thing to think about. And even apart from that, we have the biofield, right? And the biofield is like made up of our the energetic fields of our heart, of our brain, and not just that, in the biophoton light emissions, which are, every time our DNA it compresses, there are biophotons that are emitted, and these biophotons contain a lot of, like everything, all the possible information about us, our emotions, our digestive system status, etc., everything you can think of. And these biophotons travel to infinity. They never like end, or they don't get destroyed in any way. It's just continuous. So our information is always there, but not maybe in this dimension, in maybe other dimensions, but it's already there. So that's also very interesting that more new things that we are getting to learn about how everything is so interconnected.
Yep. It really is. And I like for the people listening, if you take, a week or two and start paying attention to what you eat, what you drink, and just eat organic, healthy, you're gonna notice a big difference. And then what happens is once you do it for a while, and then you eat unhealthy lunch or something, you're gonna notice you don't feel good. Like
Yeah.
it's just like that was my experience. It's like, oh, I shouldn't have ate that because now for the next day, I'm not gonna feel like I did the day before. Like I'm gonna be
Exactly.
sluggish, tired, and yeah, like you just and you're what I want to call it, like your brain doesn't seem to work like it should. Like I'm a little
Yes.
like groggy,
Yes.
So,
A
yeah,
little bit, foggy and fuzzy,
Yeah.
hazy about
yeah,
your thinking and processing throughout the day. And I really feel that if you got to know that thing that you're not feeling well, that means your body is giving you a sign.
mm-hmm,
So
exactly.
sometimes, but people also do not reach that stage because many people, they have a lot of gas, bloating, and it's just unstoppable. It's something like they don't know how they should navigate because whatever morsel, smallest morsel they're putting in their mouth, they feel like they're already bloated. So
Yep.
what
Yep.
can we do in that regard? So you just have to be a bit more intelligent and start mono dieting, just focusing on one or two things and just continuing with that for 10 to 14 days and
Yep.
slowly but surely increasing your digestive power.
Basically,
Yeah.
it's not a diet
like
in
that.
itself, but it's more like
Yes.
a way to reset the gut, the
Exactly.
digestive system.
Yeah.
It's re-establishing your digestion,
Yeah,
igniting it
Yeah.
once again.
letting the tissue turnover take place, let the self-cleansing process happen. And of course, this is a very like a generalized recommendation. I mean, depends from person to person.
Yeah.
There might be some people who might suffer from hypoglycemic episodes, for example. Maybe it might not be good for them. So, but getting back to what you were saying is to be more mindful about how we feel. I just also wanted to point out one more thing is more and more and more people don't trust their gut instinct. They don't trust how they feel. They somehow tend to always depend more on what the labs tell them, what reports tell them. There have been times when we have worked with people and they're like, "Oh, but my lab says this," but the way you feel is not that way, right?
Exactly.
So listen to
Yeah.
yourself.
Exactly.
That's what our always aim is, to ask the person, how do you feel? Do you still feel fine even if your labs are saying you are perfectly a perfect human, but do you really feel that way? Are you that vital?
Yeah.
So, and then, of course, we get the answer and then we start working with everything. And then eventually it's a slow process. But I think if you're consistent with it, if you're quite disciplined and your intention is very clear,
Yes.
I think that really helps to take it further on.
And
Yeah. I think something that also will help people is like, it's not a diet. Or you're not going on a diet. It's a way of life. Like, just
absolutely.
like accept it as this is me. This is how I want to take care of myself. So this is what I'm gonna do. No, I'm not gonna go on a diet because we all know diets you give up eventually. Like everybody does. They're always temporary. This should be something that you start, you slowly work your way into, and then you continue it for the rest of your life.
Absolutely. And I think speaking of like what people should eat, I think it's more about what's local, what's fresh, what's seasonal, what ancestors have been eating, and also based on how you feel, what you feel, especially for a healthy person whose digestion is already not skewed. So in that way, I think that's directly correlated with the energetics of the person.
Yeah, with the constitution of the person, because according to Ayurveda, once we deal with whatever acute problems the person has, then we get on to the preventative health care. So we have to look at
Mhm.
whether the person has a vata constitution, which is made of air and ether, or whether it's pitta, which is made of water and earth, or is it just kapha, which is earth and water. So we are made
Mhm.
of these five
Elements.
natural elements.
And I think
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
this was just a way that was used by our ancestors to basically describe the energetics, like which is the dominant energy, in a person. And
Mhm.
apart from this, it's not just what we eat and how we eat, but also how we cook our food, which is absolutely necessary. And especially the cookware
Yeah.
that we use, because nowadays a lot of people are using non-stick, although they'll say this is non-PFA and whatnot. But at the end of the day, it's just like saying this chemical is good, is not, it's fine, and this one is bad. I mean, chemical is a chemical after all. And I think we need to
Yep.
shift back to using the basic utensils like stainless steel, earthen pots, provided that the mud that's being used for them, it's heavy
Not-
metal free.
yeah,
it's
it's
not
not
contaminated. And also paying
Yeah.
really attention to where you're sourcing your utensils from. Because a lot of times what can happen is like, not always, but many a times that the utensils that are sourced from China, for example, maybe the steel or whatever they are using, the metals they are using could be contaminated, like maybe radioactive, possibly. So we really need to be
Yeah.
mindful and always, do our research before we buy our utensils.
Yeah.
And
Just to know the provenance of that product.
exactly, and it's always better to use fire for cooking.
Yeah.
And
that's
not the induction ware and other things, because what happens is, again, we are introducing our foods on a non-native EMF, and we absolutely should refrain from that. So we need to try and understand that we should stay away from certain things like microwaves, absolutely, because it changes the structure of the atom.
Yeah.
Yep. On my health coach, he asked me, like, do you have a microwave? I was like, yeah. He's like, throw it away.
Absolutely.
All right. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. He's like, if I came over and you turned that thing on, I would run out of your house. I was like, oh, okay. That's not good. So, yeah. All right, guys.
That's what we need to come back to the basics.
Yeah,
We
absolutely.
have to have fresh food, every time that's possible. But we need to just have fresh food. We need to cook our food every time. And warm food is really very important. Like not just eating raw vegetables, because then again, it becomes too gassy. People can digest. Our stomachs are very sensitive. Our digestive power is not that strong. So cooked food, fresh food is always recommended.
And even the way we store our food, we should stay away from aluminum, plastic containers, and all those sort of things.
Yeah.
I was gonna bring that up. Like, I know, like for me, anything plastic, I try to stay away from, because there's so many toxins in plastic. Anything plastic is not good.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
So yeah.
Exactly.
And then, do you guys, like, what do you recommend to drink as far as like water or?
Yeah, I mean, there are so many amazing herbal teas like a person can have.
I actually just had one.
Which one? What do you like?
I don't know. My best friend buys it. He makes it. I don't even know.
Okay, awesome.
But
Yeah, so I think whatever herbs that we have in our kitchen cabinet, we should just run through them and see. Like, for example, we have oregano, we have thyme. These are warm digestive herbs that we can actually take before our meals, so that, or even afterwards, so that they help with our digestion. Just as simple as those, because they'll remove the congestion, the phlegm the person is having, and they're multifactorial. They don't just work with one organ or one body system. They work in diverse ways. I mean, they also help with respiration. For another herb, for example, I would say citrus peel. Something like citrus peel, that's just absolutely amazing for your spleen chi dampness, which is like, again, with your digestive system, with your small intestines. So they help remove the dampness from your body. They help remove the phlegm so that your digestive power goes up.
Actually, this is something you can use in your teas, and it gives it a nice tangy flavor.
Oh, it's absolutely amazing.
Oh,
It's also great
I
for
bet.
bile secretion from your gallbladder. So if you have like a thick bile,
Awesome.
which is like obstructing your bile duct, so something like citrus peel is absolutely good.
So speaking of herbal bitters before
Awesome.
food, right?
Yes.
Teas.
Yeah, the herbal teas, be it angelica or be it yellow dock root, burdock root, dandelion root. These are something very
Yep.
common herbs that people can have before their meals. Then again, secreting the digestive juices and also letting the bile secrete at the same time, because all the bitter herbs, the thing is that, we have bitter receptors on our tongue.
Yep.
And we have more bitter receptors than the sweet taste bud or the sweet receptor. So we need to acclimatize our own tongue or acquaint our own tongue with the bitter taste, which I think we have forgotten. As humans have evolved, we have more and more inclined towards sweet foods, right? They are nourishing, but overabundance of anything is, it becomes poison, right?
Yep. It does. Yep. All right. This has been amazing. I do have a question for each of you, though.
Yes.
So, Arjun, if you want to go first.
Sure.
So, my slogan is "Your abilities are infinite." What does that mean to you?
I would say abilities are infinite. It would mean to me that we have the freedom to choose, like what we think, what we eat. And I think that's the biggest power that we forget that we have, that we can always make the correct choice. And what I have noticed, like, when we give webinars and presentations to people, we tell people about health. And in the end, it's like, oh no, it wasn't my genetics are not dictating my health. I'm in control of my health. And they immediately feel fearful about it. But I would say that's like a superpower. I mean, you have your choice that you can make. You should feel more powerful being in that place that you can choose the outcome of your health. And I think that's the biggest thing I would say that matters.
I love that.
Yeah.
And Juhi, how about you?
Yeah, I think it's the same thing, I mean, we are creators of our own life. So I think tapping into that frequency or consciousness, it's very easy. It's with meditation, it's with many spiritual practices. But I think every person can become that superhuman if they want to. Right?
Yep, I
So
agree.
it's all about intention. It's your will to do it.
Yeah, we are so powerful.
Yep.
We need to recognize that we are such powerful beings. And just by being more mindful about what we think, what we eat, what we do, the choices we make, and if we start making those right choices and being more mindful and being more present in the moment, I think we can really work wonders for not just us, but for the people around us as well.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly. I agree so much. All right. How can people reach out to you and work with you?
Sure. So we have our website, wellnessandbeyond.es, es Espanol, because we're in Spain. And we have a subscription because we are building a library of resources with a community, because our absolute motive is to let all the information that we have, all the knowledge we have, that we add it to one platform, holding back nothing and making it affordable for people. So we have kept it very affordable, like 36 euros, which is around $39 a month, where they get all the resources and we interact with everyone. People empower everyone. Because after what happened to my mom, I think this is, and she's also, I mean, she's been so helpful and with me that, in this purpose that everyone should feel very empowered. One thing is about making a choice, but to provide things that to provide the right tools and resources and knowledge to people so that it can empower them to make the right choice. That's one way.
Yeah.
And the second, of course, we also have podcasts, Journey to Wellness and Beyond, also in Spanish, Camino hacia el bienestar y más allá. And apart from that, if people want to work with us one-on-one, they can always get help on our website. They have the contact form and everything. We are always here for the people, for the society.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And this has been really, really amazing. And I know that I'm going to rewatch this because I learned a lot and I got to take notes.
Thank you so
So
much
glad.
for having
I'm
us.
so
Thank
glad.
you. This was an amazing
Of course.
conversation, and I hope that we can have such more conversations in the future as well.
Of course. Yeah. Well, I would love to do a second episode.
Oh, we
That'd
would
be
love that
awesome.
as well. And in fact, we love this. We love this episode with you.
I
We
love the
this chat with
energy.
you.
I love the energy between us. I think it's just
Awesome.
another level. Yeah.
I agree. This has been really great.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Nick.
Thank you.
Take care.
If you enjoyed this show, please go ahead and share it on your Instagram story and tag me here, the Nick Yerhart. Also, go ahead and share it anywhere else that you see fit, because the only way that I can grow this is by you guys sharing it. I don't sell anything on here. I don't have any sponsors, so let's just get it out there by word of mouth and help more people. Alright, everyone, remember, your abilities are infinite.